Hi, this is Dr. G with naturalfoodsdiet.org. Have you ever been driving late at night when you come around a bend and suddenly there's an enormous structure with lights everywhere and there's a chemical smell that you really can't put into words, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning? Well, you may have been driving by a high fructose corn syrup refinery. Now, the Corn Refiners Association, they pop up if you do a website search on Google, and they're the top paid position. So this Corn Refiners Association has told us that corn syrup is the same as sugar. But as the word gets out that there may be some downsides to its consumption, companies have or are planning to abandon it, like rats jumping off a sinking ship. And these are big junk food companies like Coke, Pepsi, Gatorade, Hunt's Ketchup, ConAgra, Starbucks Baked Goods, Sara Lee, and Snapple. Now, it seems incongruent with the Corn Refiners Association assertion that corn syrup and sugar are virtually identical. Now, add to that, corn is a commodity crop that's highly subsidized by the federal government, and that's thanks to the Farm Bill. This makes high fructose corn syrup a lot cheaper than regular sugar. So taking high fructose corn syrup out of their products will substantially decrease corporate profits. This shows the tremendous power we have as consumers. Now, high fructose corn syrup, as the name implied, usually has a higher fructose to glucose ratio than regular sugar, although there are actually versions of high fructose corn syrup that have a lower ratio than sugar. So you might ask, well, fructose is the sugar that's in fruit, so can it really be that bad? Well, science tells us that fructose really doesn't cause problems in moderation. Now, we know that everyone who ingests high fructose corn syrup only has it in moderation. Now, in our culture, a big gulp, that's 44 ounces of soda, is considered moderation. But a super big gulp, that's 64 ounces, now that's going a little bit overboard. The average American gets about 37 pounds of high fructose corn syrup a year. Now, I personally take in very little. So that means somebody out there is having more than their fair share. Come on, cut it out. So what happens when we ingest too much fructose? Studies in animals suggest that a peripheral enzyme that metabolizes fructose is overwhelmed, and a liver version of this enzyme takes over, and it creates a metabolic problem for the liver, including a severe energy drain on the liver. This ultimately causes fatty liver, and it also increases the production of uric acid, which is highly inflammatory at elevated levels. Uric acid is what causes gout. That's a very painful inflammatory swelling of a joint, and it's usually the big toe. Now, there's evidence that this liver metabolic drain occurs in humans and not just animals. Now, fructose also increases the production of triglycerides in the liver. Now, besides increasing your risk for heart disease, increased triglycerides doesn't allow leptin to enter the brain to tell you that you're full and to stop eating so much. So high fructose corn syrup ingestion has been associated in many studies with obesity. But then you tell me, okay, doc, I'll eat my Twinkies in moderation, and I'll go even a step further. I'll stop washing them down with big gulps. It would be preferable, if that's your plan, but I would recommend get fructose from fruit, because in fruit it's packaged with flavonoid antioxidants, fiber, magnesium, potassium, along with vitamin C. In nature, the poison is packaged with the antidote. Now, in your Twinkies, you're not getting the same plant-based nutrients. You're just getting synthetic chemicals and refined wheat starch. Now let's talk about the corn that's destined for the production of high fructose corn syrup. Now this is grown on factory farms using mono-agriculture techniques which are harmful to the environment. The corn is usually genetically modified and is doused with herbicides and pesticides and chemical fertilizers. If you think about it, if the label has high fructose corn syrup on it, it's a marker for a processed food with cheap ingredients. So this is extremely valuable. It's like a skull and crossbones warning. Like, don't get near this stuff unless you have a hazmat suit ready and waiting. Now, for a person on a natural foods diet, you don't want to eat any food that comes out of a massive building that looks a lot like an oil refinery. But don't think that these big companies that are removing high fructose corn syrup from their products care a hoot about your health. They're removing it only because of consumer demand. Their goal is sales and profits. They've already proven over and over that they don't care. And when they finally do take high fructose corn syrup out of their products, it still won't be a healthy food. Come on. So let's stop buying processed foods altogether and force the food conglomerates to come up with a better system, one with real farms and real farmers. You want a sweetener? Get something organic. Use it in moderation and be sure to burn off the calories with activity. Let's encourage one another to take a stand for health and boycott these foods. When we stand together, we have power. We have power for good and we have power for health. This is Dr. G. Thanks for watching and please subscribe to the channel. The references for this vlog are posted on the blog at naturalfoodsdiet.org.